Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott. I am the broker and the owner of Tri-State Realty. We are here on this fine day, beautiful day outside, wherever you may be. We're all blessed to be here. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that are required to hopefully get you into a mortgage and to get you into a home. There's a lot of things that are going on in the real estate industry. Every week I try to give you a perspective of some of the things to expect and some of the things that can assist you and help you, whether it be renting or purchasing. Again, like I said, my expertise is in the real estate industry. I am a broker and owner. Been in the business now going on 37 years, and I am the past president of the Bridgeport Fairfield County Board of Realtors. Also, have the distinguished honor of being the past president of the Waterbury Board of Realtors. So we've got you covered. I serve on a lot of different committees. I serve on the state board of realtors, and mostly we want to give you some information. This program is very informational, and some of the things that you take away from my conversations hopefully can help you in the future in some of your planning. Again, like I said, my program is mostly informational so that you can get an idea or an understanding of how the real estate industry works and how you could possibly fit in, because real estate is a great way of passing on wealth, leaving a legacy behind, and also at the same time you can build up some equity. Most people build up more savings in acquiring their real estate than they do in saving in the bank or any other type of venue. So with that said, one of the things, and I want to go over today some of the questions that I get. Our focus today will be on how do you qualify for a mortgage. A lot of times people do not have the slightest idea of what to do. I get a lot of calls, and individuals will say, I'm a first-time buyer, you know, what do I do? How can I get started? Or sometimes I get calls from people that they say, oh, I want to go look at some homes. Just remember, the first step is to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. And how you present yourself and what plan of action you give to that mortgage officer is going to determine where you stand, or whether or not you get accepted or rejected. When you give that information, they're taking you on face value as to what you're putting on that application and also what they can verify. So if there's an issue going forward, you don't want to hand all of that information over and have that person make a split decision, yes or no, based upon what information you gave him, if that information is not correct. With the abundance of applications coming in, an underwriter or a person can make a split decision based on what you have provided. Sometimes I find that if it's a person from a different country, or if there's a language situation, what a person puts forward is not really what they intend or what they think and how they interpret it. And many times I have interceded and I say, well, you know, this is what the question was, but how you answered it with something totally different. You are 100% in right in what your perception is and what you put down there, but it's going to be interpreted wrong. So let's make sure that the underwriter understands what you're doing. So today, if you got a pencil, take down some of the information I'm going to give you. And what I'm going to do is to give you an idea of what the underwriter, or if you walk into a bank, what are they looking for? First of all, they're looking for income. You have to have a job, or if you don't have a job, you've got to have substantial amount of assets and some type of a pension or retirement. But you have to have income, I should say, because it doesn't necessarily take a job. But suppose you're retired and you're getting income. Suppose you have investments. So that's considered income. Most of the time, when you go in to get a mortgage, what they're going to be looking for is 2 months of pay stubs, or maybe 1 month, depending upon the bank, depending upon how much they want you to verify. So be prepared to at least have your pay stubs ready. At least 2 pay stubs. If you're getting paid every 2 weeks, then that would be 2 weeks of pay stubs, or basically that's 1 month of income. They want to see income. And what's considered income? Well, if you got a full-time job, then you've got pay stubs. That's considered your income. If you are retired, then you have a pension. That's considered income. If you have investments and you are getting dividends or investment from those investments, that's income. Maybe you have rental property. Maybe you already, maybe you're renting and you also bought some investment properties. Well, that's still considered income. What they count is income. Now, a lot of times, people come in with a preconceived notion that they want to buy a certain priced house. Remember, the bank will not let you buy more than you can afford to pay back. So the income determines, in a lot of cases, how big a house you buy. Many people come in with the conception, well, I want 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, nice area, I want all of these different things. But like I tell everybody, remember, the more you want and the bigger the house you want, the more money it costs. It only makes sense. Sometimes people have the misconceived notion that I want to buy a house, and no matter how big it is or how small it is, this is what I want and this is what my objective is. Well, that's good, but you've got to also, if you're going to get a mortgage, be able to pay back that money. And the larger the house, the more taxes you pay, and the more insurance it costs on the house. If a small cape burns down and the house next to it is twice as big, a large colonial, well, it's going to cost twice as much money to rebuild the bigger house. So expect your insurance to be twice as much. If the house is a large house, expect your taxes to be a lot more. So with bigness comes more money required on your part as far as income. That's where they look at the income, and the income in many cases will determine how big a house that the bank will give you a mortgage pre-qualification for. So you've got to have that income. And with the income, they also look at how many bills you have. So having a lot of income coming in, but then having a lot of bills is not going to help too much either. So you want to keep your debt cut down somewhat. So they're going to be looking for the income. Now, on your pay stub, you've got to evaluate what's on that pay stub if you're bringing income. Well, sometimes if you have child support, that counts as a bill. So they're going to look at the child support, and they're going to see how much money is coming out of your paycheck. The other thing they're going to look at is how long is the child support going to be for. Suppose you have a child and the child support is going to end within a matter of a year or 6 months. Well, they'll look at it differently than if the child is just 2 years old, because now the deductions are going to be for a long period of time versus a short period of time. They're going to look at how much is the payment. And in most cases, if it's a court-ordered payment, it's coming directly out of your pay stub or a paycheck. So it's very obvious, and they can see it right there. In some cases, on your credit report, it will reflect that. So this is one of the things that they consider. Now, that's not too much of a detriment as long as your income is sufficient and you have a high enough income to still be able to afford to purchase a property. So that is one of the things that they look at on your pay stub. They look at the child support. The other thing they look at on the pay stub is any collections. Let's say, for example, you have a doctor bill, you didn't pay the bill. Let's say you have a bill for a collection for a car or whatever it may be. That's going to reflect in some cases if they went to court and they got a judgment against you. So that's money coming out of your pay stub. So just be aware of what's on your pay stub when you hand that into the bank, because these are the things they're going to be looking at. Any bill that comes out of your pay stub every single month, they're going to look at. In other words, what is this $50? It comes out every single month. Now, there's where you have to be aware of what they're looking for. Suppose that's a savings account, and every month you're putting $50 into your savings account, and it's coming out of your paycheck. Guess what? You just turned something that might have been negative into something positive. Because if they see $50 coming out, they're assuming that that's a bill. But you have an opportunity to say, oh no, that's not a bill, that's savings, so that's a good thing. So that's why when you're putting those pay stubs in there, you got to know what is the person looking for, what's the underwriter looking for, and you provide a letter stating, on my pay stub you will see deductions coming out. Some of that money goes to my 401k, some goes to my savings account, some goes to my health insurance. So now the amount that's taken out of your pay doesn't look as bad because it's being put into the savings account. That's the other thing that they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking at your savings. So you have to provide 2 months of your bank statements. So on the bank statement, what are they looking for? They're looking to see how much your balance is. How much money do you have in your bank statements? How much money have you saved? And the other thing they're going to look at on your bank statement is they want to know if there's any large, let's say, deposits. All of a sudden now you decided to buy a house, and 3 weeks before you applied for a mortgage, you deposited $2,000 into your savings account. Right away, that's a red flag. Where did the money come from? They want to know. A lot of people say, well, they're getting into my business. What do they care where the money came from? Well, they care where the money came from because suppose you went out and borrowed that money because you planned on buying a house. So you went out and borrowed $2,000 from your cousin, another $1,000 from your aunt, whatever it may be, and this is the money that you're going to use to put down on the house. Or let's say you went to another bank and borrowed $5,000 to put down with this bank to buy a house. They're very concerned about that because that's considered debt. Now you're already in debt. You owe money. What if you don't pay that money back? You buy the house. These people get mad at you and they say, oh, okay, you bought the house. I'm going to put a lien on the house. That means that they go to court and they have them put an order against your house for the money you owe them. And so now you're already starting out negative. The bank doesn't want that. The bank wants you to be able to buy a house on your own without going out and borrowing money from other people. You can accept a gift. What that means is that, let's say you're going to buy a house and you need money for the down payment. You can go to a friend, or usually it's a blood relative. I can't really say a friend. It's got to be like maybe someone like your mother, father, sister, brother. It's called a blood relative, someone that's close to you. Because when you go to friends and everything, they feel as though the friend's not just going to hand over money to you and not expect to get it back. So it can be a relative of yours. They can give you a gift. Along with that gift, they have to give you a letter stating that they do not intend for you to pay them that money back. It's a gift. So you are allowed to get money from a relative as a gift and use that to put down on a house. So this is considered your down payment. This is not a bill that you're going to have. It's money that you are going to be able to get. There's different ways of freeing up money to buy a house. When you buy a house, you need two things. Well, you need more than two, but as far as money, you need down payment and the closing costs. The down payment, that's the money you're going to put down on the house. Now, the money you're going to put down on the house could be 3%, could put as little as 3% down, and that money can come from various sources. A lot of times people say, well, you know, I don't have all of the money to put down. And I say, okay, let's sit down. Let's identify where the money is going to come from or where the money is at. Let's say you have a 401k. If you have a 401k, money you've been saving for years, in many instances, if you've been working for that company for a long time, you have the ability to take some of that money out. And you can ask your employer or your human resources company, how much money am I able to take out of my 401k? And then you could take that money out and you can use that money as your down payment. But if you're going to do that, make sure that you are aware that you can take it out, and make sure that you do it well ahead of time so you don't wait till the last minute and then all of a sudden you need to take the money out of your 401k. So you got to look at your statement, see how much is there, how much of it that you can take out of the 401k. Usually when you have a 401k, they will let you take money out without a penalty if you're buying a house. There's usually some other reasons you can take money out of a 401k if you didn't know. If you're unemployed, you can tap into the money. If you buy a house, for education, and for health reasons, you can also take the money out without a penalty. You have to pay taxes, but you don't pay a penalty. You've got to pay taxes anyway, but this is a way that you don't get hit with the taxes and get hit with the penalty. So you can take money out of your 401k to help you buy that house. Another thing you can do in buying a house, how do you free up money? Well, let's say you have life insurance. If you've had a life insurance policy for a long period of time, a lot of these policies have cash value. That means it's a whole life policy where you have life insurance and you have savings built into that life insurance policy. Well, you don't have to cash the life insurance policy out. You don't have to cancel the life insurance policy. Insurance companies let you take money out of the life insurance policy and use that money. You can take a loan on the policy and you could get cash out of the policy without having to actually die. And so you could be able to use some of that money, and it's low interest. You can use that money, and that money can come in the form of your dividends or your cash value, and you can use that to put down on a house. So you see there's different things that you can do. Now, if you really want to get creative and you want to buy a house, you might have a car that's paid for. Let's say the car is paid for, you want to buy a house. Well, look at it this way. You're buying a house, the house is going to appreciate in value. It's going to be worth a lot more money as long as everything goes right. So you need money to put down on that house. You can sell the car. Depends on how motivated you are. Maybe you bought a newer car and now all of a sudden it's paid for over the years, and you want to be able to buy a house and you want to free up some money to take advantage of the market and be able to get into that house. And right now, I don't know if you've been reading the paper, but used car values have soared. So that car you have that you might think is not worth a lot of money, cars have gone up in as much as 20% in value in the last 6 months. You could take the car, sell the car, and use the money to buy a house, and then turn right around after you've bought the house and buy a used car, buy another car. But I'm giving you creative ways and things that you can do to get into the house. Other than that, let's say I have people saying, oh, I want to buy a house, but I want to wait until I save up some money. Hey, that might be a year, 2 years, 3 years. I've had people that 5 years ago were still saving up money to buy a house, and when they first started out saying that, the cost of the house was $100,000. Now the house is $250,000, $300,000. And guess what? In all that period of time, they did not save up enough money to buy the house, but yet they had a car that was probably worth $10,000 or $15,000 that they could have sold, used that money, put it down on the house, and the house would have cost them $100,000. And here, 5 years later, the house is worth $250,000. So you do the math. Which is better for them to be still waiting to buy a house and still have the same car, which is worth a whole lot less now, or to have sold the car, then use that money to buy a house for $125,000, which is now worth $250,000. What it all boils down to is now they would have been $125,000 ahead of the game and still have a car, versus still having a car and still paying rent, and the rent that they were paying, which was $1,000 a month, is now $1,200, $1,400, $1,500 a month. It's a matter of how wisely do you use your money, and what do you do to use that money to benefit you. It's the same amount of money, same amount of dollars, same amount of assets. It's how you manipulate that money and make the money work for you. The money's sitting there. You have assets that are sitting there. You have blessings that are sitting there. But it's what's called knowledge that takes you from the money just sitting there dormant, gathering dust, and you making that money work for you. You can turn around and do it. But the whole thing about it is you have to have the knowledge to be able to get out there to put it together. And these are some of the ideas that I'm giving you. These are some ideas that I've given people in the past. I've had individuals that, 4 or 5 years ago bought properties that have, in this hot market, doubled in value. They would have never saved that much money. They've built equity for themselves, for their families, to help with their children's education. They've taken and gotten lines of credit that can put them into business. Or they've sold one house and now they're able to buy their dream house. When you usually start out, you don't buy your dream house. Your dream house is a dream. That's why they call it the dream house. But you got to have dream money. You can have a dream house, but you can't dream up money. You can't just dream about it and have it mysteriously appear. But you can dream about the house. So create that dream, but now take and turn that dream into reality by making that money work for you in real time. And now you can live in the real world and get that money to buy a dream house for you. But you got to make the money work for you. So, you got to sit down and have a plan. You just can't dream about it. That's one thing. And, a lot of people say, well, we'll make a way, we'll make a way. Well, that's good, but also make a plan, because unless you hit the lottery and it just falls in your lap, you've got to have a plan. And the odds of winning the lottery, what is it, sometimes 1,000,000 to 1. And, the thing about it is most people say, well, maybe it'll happen to me. But why not just make it happen? Why not create a plan where now instead of those odds are 1,000,000 to 1, they might be 5 to 1. They might be 1 to 1, because you have a plan where you can see where you can make it happen. So again, getting back to that, a bank will look at income. A bank's going to look at your assets. I just showed you some ways of freeing up some money so that you can get started right away versus saving up that money. The thing about saving up money is that, especially when inflation kicks in, you save up $1 and everything you have saved up, that dollar now costs you $1.25. Then you save up another $1, now everything costs you $1.50. How many times has this happened? And you know what I'm talking about. You go in the grocery store, maybe they didn't go up on the price of the item. They just gave you 60% of the item and the packaging shrunk. So it's the same price. People are saying, you go in and you get a box of cereal. The box of cereal shrunk. It didn't look as big as it used to, but the price is still the same. So that's inflation. You're paying the same amount of money, but you're getting less for your money. And you look up and down the aisle, everything's in a smaller package. So the same thing happens with money. You can make money, but the money's not buying as much for you as you thought it would. With all of the stimulus money, the government's been printing up a lot of money. I mean, the government printing presses have been going crazy. What are they doing? They print dollars. They print money. They flood. The whole economy's been flooded with money. At one point in time, the government was printing up so much money, they couldn't get enough ink to print the money with. And that's a true fact. Look it up. Google it. There was a shortage of ink because the government was sucking up all the ink from all the ink suppliers, just printing dollar bills and printing stimulus money to get it out into the country. Now, usually the gold standard, gold backs money. They didn't make any more gold. They didn't mine any more gold. So the same amount of gold is out there is backing that money up. So when you print more money up, it just means that that money is worth less than it was before. The money is worth less and less and less because now it costs you more money to be able to spend to get that same thing. Right now, there's a shortage on cars. Can't find a car in the parking lot. All the chips, the chip makers, the used car prices are going up. Can't find new cars. Housing is going up. But you got to figure out how do you make your money go up? How do you invest wisely? So again, I'm just teaching you some ways or showing you some ways that you got to be able to get some money together to jump into the game to be able to invest. The other thing that the banks are looking for is they're looking at your credit report. So when you're getting ready to go out there and buy a house, get a copy of your credit report before you go cold turkey and just submit an application and guess or just take potluck as to what you might think what's on there. What's on there doesn't mean that it's true. Get a copy of your credit report. Look at the report. See if everything is accurate. Do some disputing on some items. Get some items changed on there that are incorrect before you go applying for credit. Don't give it to the credit or the loan officer and let him try and just go on what you have on that paper there. Sure, it might be incorrect, but he's not going to go out of his way to change it. He's swamped with applications. He's just going to look at it. And they have a thing now called desktop underwriting, DU. That's where they take all that information, put it into the computer, and the computer says yes or no from what that computer read. So you know what they say about a computer? Garbage in, garbage out. So if you gave them all the wrong information and it went in there, then what's going to happen is that the wrong information is going to come out of that computer, and usually it's not in your favor. So one of the things you want to do is check your credit report before you go putting that information into the loan officer, and correct the information so that they, number one, ask you the least amount of questions, but also that information is good. So, what I've given you today is some food for thought, things that are doable. This is not a dream. This is reality. This is things that you can do. It's okay to dream, but you have to, at sometimes, take control of what you can control. And these are things that I'm telling you about today you can control. We're not dreaming. Dream about the house, but do something constructive to make it not only a dream, but to make it reality. Again, I hope that I've been able to help you today with some information. My name is Charles Scott, and any way that I can help you, please feel free to give me a call. Until next week, God bless. Shalom, shalom. Until next week, bless you.